Welcome to the show after the show. My name's Amadeus. With me is Eden Kendall. Together, we are your hometown morning show on 99.9 Gator Country in Jacksonville, Florida. So hello to wherever in the world you are listening.
Well, we've got something fun today to look over. This is 13 things. I thought it was 12 on the list, but clearly I missed one. 13 things that we all should have learned in high school.
Oh.
So some folks have put together a life skills list of things that it would be great if you could just teach and learn these things in high school so that when you're an adult, you actually know how to do them.
I remember probably in my early 20s thinking, why didn't they teach us this stuff in high school?
Right, exactly. Instead of the algebra, because I haven't really had to solve for y in a while.
That's true. And I don't do math anyway because I went to Fletcher. But yeah, I can't wait to hear these.
Okay, so here we go. We'll take these one at a time. These are according to lifehacker.com. Things we should have learned in high school or things that should be taught now in high school. How to split complicated bills at a restaurant.
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
that kind of goes back to the math.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, too, whenever I go out with a group, I always suggest, can we all just get our own bills?
Yep.
And I know it's hard on the waitress, and I like to tip pretty heavy anyway to make it worth the waiter or waitress's, the server's time. But, man, that is a pain.
Yeah, that always gets awkward, especially because either you don't order, especially when they try to split it all the way down. There's a great Friends episode where a couple of them, like I think it's Phoebe and Joey, are pretty broke.
Right.
And they go out to dinner and everyone's ordering and they're getting water and soup or something. And
Right.
then they have to split the bill equally. So, yeah, you want to learn how to do that. This one, you know what? I got to say, this isn't exactly the way it used to be. And that is that new cars are bad investments in basic car maintenance. I definitely think the basic car maintenance should be taught. I remember in driver's ed, we went over that a little bit, but not as much as you would think. The new cars are bad investments. And with the cost of used cars these days, it's not necessarily always the case. I don't like to just make that as a blanket statement, but I know that there was a time where it was just common knowledge that if you drive a new car off the lot, it instantly plummets in value.
I think even today still, though, that depreciation is there. I think. Maybe not as drastic as it was, but yeah, I think it's I haven't bought new since golly.
I hadn't in a long time, but I did recently because the used cars, because of the way things have been with shipping and everything, used cars have gone up so much.
Right.
That with the deals that they had on the new, it worked for us. The true cost of home ownership and mortgages and how insurance works. Yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you how I've talked to my adult kids about this before. Like, they just aren't quite understanding.
It would have to be a college course, but yeah, I mean, it's very complicated. It's very complicated. Yeah.
How to calculate compound interest. So to explain to somebody like, yeah, it's not just going to make this interest, but that interest then becomes money that you can also earn interest on.
Right.
And then that money is money you can earn interest on. And it's good to know because then all of a sudden putting that little bit of money away on your first paycheck when you realize what it's going to look like in 30 years.
Yes. And that kind of goes back to the college course of the whole mortgage thing, like the money thing. And that when I was referencing like in my early 20s, why didn't they teach us this? This is what I'm talking about, the money stuff mostly. These are the things we should really be ready to tackle when we graduate high school.
Yeah, but I don't think it needs to be a college course. I got to say, I think that...
No, I'm saying like it'll be almost like a college type course.
Oh, I see.
But it should be in high school.
In high school.
Like, I don't know if our 16 and 17 and 18-year-old brains can handle it.
They can because some of them handle calculus.
That's true,
if you think about the hard
this
stuff that they
absolutely
do handle,
should be taught.
That happiness takes work. This is one that I gotta think, and I deal with this a lot with, I've got kids and it's hard to explain to somebody that happiness takes work.
Yeah.
And that the thoughts that are in your brain, and this is apart from anything that might, require mental health work or medications or anything. I'm not talking about that, but on a day-to-day basis,
right?
What you choose to have be your thought, because your brain can only process one thought at a time. So if you want to push a thought out and put in a happier thought, that takes work. I had
a friend who I've been friends with since, golly, I think we were 17, 18, 19, and we're friends to this day. But there was a period where we were both like, we weren't great friends, and we literally had to work at it. We had to really work hard and sit down and talk about, like, are we going to be old buddies and, in our 80s hanging out on a porch together? Or are we willing to, like, just give this friendship up? Yeah. being happy in any relationship, it takes work.
Or just in general, like if things aren't going your way, starting new things that are, leaving situations that aren't good for you mentally, being able to walk away from things, that takes work. You can't just sit around and think that happiness is going to just be something you either are or are not.
Right.
The real definition of consent, young men, young women, everybody needs to understand
Absolutely,
that.
100%.
There's Google this if you're trying to teach this one to your kids. There's a whole thing about tea. You remember that whole thing about consent? Just because she had tea the last time she came over doesn't mean she wants tea again.
Oh.
Maybe she wants tea with sugar this time, maybe not with sugar. Doesn't mean that or maybe she said she wants tea and you go to make the tea and you come back and she doesn't want it anymore. Don't try to make her have the tea. It's like this whole big
I've
thing.
never heard that before.
Oh, it's genius.
It is genius.
It is genius because it really shows you if she changes her mind, maybe she starts drinking the tea and puts it down and doesn't want it anymore. Take away the tea.
That's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah, it really is so good. How to give a compliment and the art of conversation. The art of conversation and how to give a compliment. That is, I hate to think a learned thing, but sometimes it does take effort, but you can change someone's whole day.
Not only is it learned, but sometimes, and I like to think I'm pretty good at giving compliments because I do like to make an effort to at least acknowledge something or I don't know, I think those little bitty things make all the difference in the world. And it took me a long, long, long time to learn that complimenting, how to compliment. And the word conversation to me is a lost art. Talking on the phone, having dinner without your phone there, just hanging out with someone, that whole thing is a lost art, I believe.
Listening is a lost art.
It really is. Wait, what did you say?
How to understand the concept of opportunity cost. So let's break that down. So not every opportunity that comes your way is going to come your way without some sort of cost. In other words, you're going to have to make sacrifices to get what you want. And so that kind of goes with the whole happiness is work.
Yeah, that's true.
If you think that if it doesn't just fall into your lap, it isn't worth having, then you'll miss out on a lot of things.
Sometimes that's what the strings attached is all about.
And sometimes those strings are well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That hydration is life.
Man.
Drink your water, everybody.
Are we learning that the older we get?
Basic cooking skills is on that same line with that for some reason. Basic cooking skills, I got to say.
Along with the hydration line?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of all one concept.
Yeah.
Like you got to drink water and eat well.
And you got to be able to cook.
Cook a couple of dishes. The art of haggling and negotiation and how to spot a scam. These are both phenomenal.
Great.
Haggling is great. I mean, obviously you can't haggle for everything. And also there's an art form to haggling without disrespecting someone too.
Right. That's true. I keep wanting to bring up Dave Ramsey throughout this whole conversation we're having, and I haven't yet, but I'm going to now because if you don't know Dave Ramsey, he's kind of a financial guy, all biblically based on the theory or the belief that the borrower is slave to the lender. But he talks about getting a good deal. It's like if you walk in to buy a refrigerator and it says $1,000, that's not the price. You can haggle that. You can say, you can get a better deal possibly.
The times that I don't haggle are usually when it's like an artist of some sort, a stylist, somebody who is like they're their own boss, setting their own prices based on the talent that they provide.
I agree.
But if we're just talking about like, buying a car or and I've told this story numerous times, like my dad's funeral plot, his grave plot, I've haggled. And I got back to hospice and told him I haggled, and he loved it.
That's awesome.
I mean, you got to think there's haggling.
You got to look out for yourself.
You do. You got to look out for number one, which is kind of contrary to some of the other things we're talking about. But when it comes to money, everything is negotiable, mostly. But again, I go back to the whole thing about not disrespecting or undervaluing somebody's time or talent.
I agree with you on that, especially when it comes to like I recently bought a piece of art, like yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it was a lot of money for me, but it was such a cool piece of work, and I respect what they're doing, and the money goes to charity. And I'm like, this is worth it. This is a cool thing. So, and also with cutting hair, waiters and waitresses, like they're worth spending the money for.
Right. Exactly. And a lot of times, and maybe it sounds like we've got chips on our shoulders when we say this, but a lot of times it comes down to not the amount of time someone's going to be doing work for you, but the amount of experience they bring to the work that they're doing. So how to deal with, First, let's do this one. How to build your credit. Great one. Great one. I mean, there are people like Dave Ramsey who will say you don't need credit, but
I am proud to say my credit score has been 0 since about 2012.
Okay, we're on different seats on that just because, you know, I've got kids who, are going to want to build, mortgage houses and things like that. So
That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast. How to deal with the police, what to do in an emergency.
Yes.
So how to deal with the police in any situation, and what to do in an emergency in any given situation. These are both very, very important things for all students to learn.
I think in both of those situations, one of the hardest things to do is keep a cool, calm head.
Yeah.
But I think when you boil it all down, that's the answer to both.
And to both emergencies and.
Yes, exactly.
And then also the next one is good time management. Ooh, is that important? Good time management.
Sometimes I think I'm good at that, and sometimes I think I'm horrible at it.
Yeah.
I'm both. I'm on both sides of the coin with that one.
That's what makes you human.
I guess so.
So we all have things still to learn, and we learn every single day, but it would be nice to have a head start for some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if all these things were taught in high school, then when you go through college, or if you don't go to college, you go straight into the workforce or whatever, I just feel like you'll be so far ahead. So if you're in high school right now and you're listening to this podcast, go back and re-listen and take some notes and maybe do your own research and do your own homework on some of these things, because you will thank us when you get into your early 20s and maybe even into your 30s and buying your first house or whatever.
And say what you will about TikTok and Reels and all of those short form video things. There are many I guess they call it the sides of TikTok. Oh, you found the side of TikTok where we do this. There are many educational type things on there like that, but you don't know really who your source is.
Right.
So that's what gets kind of dicey. But I have seen like compound interest explained. I've seen mortgage stuff explained. I've seen laws explained on there. So it really just, it's the algorithm. If you're seeking it, you'll find it. But it would be nice if you kind of were armed with that information when you first graduated high school. All right, so there you go.
Or you can just play the game of life, and you'll learn everything right from that game.
I don't like that game. All right, we are happy that you joined us today. We love having you here. Tune in to 99.9 Gator Country, either locally or streaming, and have a good one.
Bye.